Welcome to the second week of the UU Adult Learning. Oh, there. The default speaker has changed. Yeah, because it's default to this guy. Anyway, very good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I particularly appreciate the fact that you suffered through last week and came back for more. That means you're either all totally bored and have nothing to do because you've been locked in your houses for 2 years, or you just want to see if I make any more stupid jokes. Welcome. It is a pleasure and honor to be here. Once again, I am Rabbi Eric Wisnia. Just so you know where to align the guilt, I am Janet's first cousin. Richard and I are not blood relatives, but we like each other. So we allow Janet to hang out occasionally. Last week, we began with how the Jews view the world. And we talked about an introduction of who is a Jew. So I'd like to finish that up and then move on to topic number 2, which is God, by showing you some quotes from a French Jewish philosopher who around in the 1920s wrote a letter to his children. And his children, unlike all of our children, didn't necessarily want to listen to their father. And just because their father told them something, they didn't say, "Sure, Dad, whatever you say." Now, my children are like that, but I don't know if yours are. So my children say, "Sure, Dad, whatever you say," and then they ignore me. So let's go to next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thanks, stop right there. This was written by Monsieur Edmond Fleg, a French Jew, a philosopher, who wrote for his children 10 thoughts, because they said to him, "Hey, Pa," in French they said, "how come it's so important to be a Jew?" And Ed wrote the following. So, merci, mon frère Edmond. Number 1, if you can see it up there, Edmund said, "I am a Jew because the faith of Israel demands of me no abdication of the mind." In other words, you don't have to believe anything that doesn't make sense. In fact, if it doesn't make sense, don't believe it. Now, when I was at college at the University of Pennsylvania, a great institution, and if you want to be put in an institution, that is, so I studied about an early Christian father named Quintus Tertullianus. Now, me and old Quint never got on, because Quint said something like, you can believe it if it's not true or if it's not real, because if it's really crazy, to believe it is an act of faith. Now, I read this and I said to my professor, and this bozo really thought that was a reason to believe something because it was not realistic, because it was fabulous, because it didn't make sense, and that if you believed it on faith, this was wonderful. And my professor said to me, "Eric, you'll never be a good Christian philosopher." I said to him, "You're probably right, Dr. Harvey." Because as a Jew, I believe with Edmund. Number 1, I am a Jew because the faith of Israel demands of me no abdication of the mind. If it don't make sense, I don't believe it. If it doesn't seem logical, I don't believe it. If it doesn't seem moral, I don't do it. God gave me a mind. How do I know this? Because I have one. Therefore, if I don't like it in my head, there's something wrong, not with me, but with what's being said to me. Number 2, I am a Jew because the faith of Israel requires of me all the devotion of my heart. I agree with mon frère Edmund, because to be a Jew, to have the faith of Israel, the religion of the Jews, requires a commitment. Remember, I said last week that to be a Jew, you have to, quote, do the Jew. And do the Jew means I have to be committed to Jewish action and Jewish ritual. Number 3, I am a Jew because in every place where suffering weeps, the Jew weeps. Jews have to have compassion. One of the major points we make in our Torah, which I'll speak about next week, is the fact that God made the entire universe and all other people as well. And we must be compassionate to all living things. Everything is created by God. Therefore, we have to be compassionate for all living things. Next, I am a Jew because at every time when despair cries out, the Jew hopes. We are positive, we are optimistic. Life is good, life is positive, and therefore there's always hope for tomorrow. Always hope for tomorrow. No matter how bad it is, it can always get better. Next, I am a Jew because the word of Israel is the oldest and the newest. I am a Jew because in my Torah, in the words that my ancestors have given to me in our Bible, that message is an ancient message, and yet it is a message for me today. And that's how we look at our Bible, as God's wisdom passed to us through our ancestors, and it is a message for today. Can I have the next slide, please?
I sure hope so.
Edmund continued, I am a Jew because the promise of Israel is the universal promise. That doesn't mean everybody's got to believe like the Jews do. I hope I explained last week that we believe like we do because we think it's right. But if you want to have a different flavor of ice cream, go right ahead. That's your business. If you want to believe like Quentin Tertullianus, that I believe it because it's ridiculous, you go right ahead. I might laugh at you and I might not agree with you, but I'm not going to bop you over the head and tell you you have to think my way. Our view is that everybody is equal and everybody in the universe, even when we meet the little red men on Mars or the little green women on Venus, that they are God's creations, they're in the same universe, and we got to be nice to them too. Next, I am a Jew because for Israel, the world is not completed. We are completing it. We believe in evolution. We believe that the universe was created. God made the Big Bang. Genesis chapter 1 says, God said, let there be a Big Bang. And there was. And it has been increasing ever since then. It is not done. Human beings are evolving. The entire universe is evolving. We are God's co-workers in completing it. Next, I am a Jew because for Israel, humanity is not created. We are creating it. With every generation, we get a little bit better. It's not all about me. Now, if you personally believe that your soul is going to heaven after you die, even though I don't believe that, I have no way to tell you that I'm right and you're wrong. I don't know what happens after you die. But I can tell you that what I can see right here and now, and what I see right here and now is that humanity is ongoing. God created me with a built-in self-destruct. Well, hopefully not a self-destruct, but a built-in destruct. I will be obsolete if I live 100 years. That's good, because to tell you the truth, folks, I would never let those stupid children and the next generation take over. They're kids. How can they run the universe? How can they do anything? Well, God has figured out I'm obnoxious. So God has decided that I will die. This is probably a good thing. I'm not happy about it. But God has figured that the only way for the universe to continue to grow is if I'm not in it. So I had better get with the plan. And the plan, as I have figured it out, is that I was born. I took the world that God gave me through my parents. My parents gave it to me. Now I have to take it and not mess it up, make it a little bit better, a next generation. That's the plan of evolution. That's God's plan. That means I got to die. I like the fact that I was born. I'm not happy that I'm going to die. But once I begin to understand that I have to give the world over to my children and your grandchildren, then I begin to understand what the point of my life is. I have to help God create the future for humanity. So that's why we are creating the universe and creating mankind. I am a Jew because Israel places humanity and its unity above any nation and even above my own particular nation, the Jewish people. I have to realize I am one family of mankind. I am not all the families of mankind. I am not any more special than any other human being. Therefore, all human beings are my brothers and my sisters. That's the whole point of the Adam and Eve story, that we're all descended from one family. Adam and Eve are not real people. In Hebrew, Adam means Mr. Mankind, and Chava means Mrs. Life Giver. When I tell you the story about Mr. Mankind and Mrs. Life Giver, you immediately understand these are not real people. These are archetypes. All humanity is related. We are all part of one family. And the last thing, I am a Jew because above humanity, image of the divine unity, Israel places the unity which is divine. And that unity is God. To us, our most important prayer is Deuteronomy chapter 6, which says, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Pay attention, Yisrael. The God we worship is the God who created everything. In other words, all of the universe is a unity. Interestingly enough, the Hubble telescope has just decided and found that true, that every single thing in the universe is made of the same elements. Everything in our universe is part of one big bang, and we are all just big bangers hanging around in the universe. So that's one of the reasons why we Jews take God so seriously. Can I have the next slide, please? First of all, let me say thank you to mon frère Edmund. He has since passed away, but he was a smart boy, even though he was French and didn't speak English too well, but he wrote something really smart. God. So let's talk about God, shall we? Next slide. Where is God? People ask me this all the time. Where is God? And I, of course, tell them, well, God is in my friend Jim's bathroom in his church. And people say, what do you mean? I said, well, Reverend Jim Egan, Lutheran minister in Hightstown, told me the story one weekend. He said he came out of his office and there was a bathroom and there was a kid banging on the door saying, my God, are you still in there? God is not in the bathroom in Pastor Egan's church. But most people think he's on the roof of the church. You know why? Because when they want to go to pray, where do they go? When they want to talk to God, they go into the church and they look up, because that's where God is, right? On the roof of the church or the mosque or the synagogue. And we like him there. That's good, because we keep the old guy there. And when we want to talk to him, we walk into that room and we go, hey, old man, we're going to talk to you now. Yea, verily, thou art God. He speaks Old English. He doesn't speak modern English. And you got to talk loud because he's old and he doesn't hear very well. Hopefully, you've realized that that's a little stupid. Or let's be kind, it's a little silly. But I'll tell you, most people like it, because then when you walk out of the church, you leave God back on the roof. And he doesn't see what's going on. Because the old geezer's up there probably sleeping till next Sunday, till we come and knock on the door and wake him up again. See, God doesn't see what's going on unless I want him to see it. Now, hopefully you'll agree with me that this view of God is kind of childish. And it's not really true, because God can't be on the roof of every single church and every single synagogue and every single mosque and hiding in every Buddhist temple. So where is God? Well, he must travel around, because we all want God to be, let her see, the Cosmic Bellhop. Now, you've all gone into a fancy hotel, right? And you walk up to the front desk and you go, ding, and the bellhop goes, yes, sir, how are you, sir? Can I help carry your bag, sir? What can I do for you? What can I get for you? That's what we want out of God. We want God to be the Cosmic Bellhop. We want God to be ready as soon as we go ding and say, oh God, it's talk time now. We want God to come and say, well, yes, Eric, what would you like now? Little world peace, $1 million, cure some disease. What would you want? Just tell me. And we expect God to do it, right? That'd be real nice if it worked, wouldn't it? I don't know about you folks. I've tried it and it doesn't work. I've been talking to God since I was a kid. And to tell you the truth, I work for the boss. You know, I deserve a little special favor here. Nothing. I have prayed, dear God, if you really exist, I want $1 million outside my office door tomorrow morning. Not once has it ever happened. So I'm left with two choices. Either God doesn't like me, or the Cosmic Bellhop doesn't exist, and my view of God is really ridiculous. I've come up with the idea that C, the Cosmic Bellhop, is not important. It doesn't work. It's what we all want, but it's not reality. You can pray till you're blue in the face. God is not going to do what you want. I've tried it, folks. If it works for you, let me know. I'll tell you a story in a minute. Now, it's interesting in the Bible how we talk about God. We talk about God, of course, like he's Big Daddy in the sky. You'll forgive me, ladies, because we were sexist pigs. Well, pigs isn't the right term to use for those biblical days, but we were sexist, that's for sure. Male chauvinists, and we pictured God just like us men, of course. He was a big Jewish guy with a long white beard, you know, and he sat up on the clouds. So that's not God. Our rabbis in the Bible talk about meetings with God, and they use a very interesting term. They use the Hebrew term mo'adim. Mo'adim, letter D. Mo'adim. One of those mo'adim is plural for appointments. One of them is a moed. And when you meet God at an appointment. In other words, it is not a question of where is God. It's a different question. Let's talk for a minute about radio waves, shall we? Because personally, I don't believe in radio waves. I can hear them. You hear them? I don't hear radio waves. There are no radio waves. They don't exist. If there are radio waves, you show me one of those radio waves right here, right now. Well, somebody might say, but Eric, you don't have a radio. Oh. You mean I got to get a radio before I can hear radio waves? Yeah, and don't buy one of them cheap transistors. Get yourself a nice radio. Okay, and then you got to plug it in. Oh, wait a minute, this is already work. I mean, I got to get a nice radio and I got to plug it in. Yeah, bozo, you got to plug it in. And then you have to tune the dial. I tune the dial, and then you can hear radio waves. You mean I have to tune in to hear the radio waves, and I need a fine radio? This is work. I live in a room, I don't see radio waves, they don't exist. People say to me all the time, well, I don't see God, show me God. I can't show you God. There's no cosmic bellhop up on the roof waiting for you to call. God is a radio station. You ready for this? WGOD, broadcasting at 613 on your AM dial. 613 is the number of commandments, remember from last week? You want to hear God, get your religious radio, your brain working, and tune in. If you tune in to WGOD, you might hear the broadcast. And then you got to understand. And here's the worst part. Then you got to go do something. In other words, God is that little part in my heart that is broadcasting goodness to me. Well, it's not the God I want. I want the God who's going to do it all for me. You and me both, brother. That's what we want. But that ain't what you're going to get. That kind of God does not exist. Why do bad things happen to good people? It is not because God says, let's make Wisnia suffer. Zappo, you get cancer. That's not God. That's not the way it works. Don't ask, where is God? The last part of letter E. There are moments in life when you should see, when is God? God is in appointments. When you look in the eyes of someone who loves you, you might see God. When you're desperate and in need, and some stranger reaches out and helps you and does something nice, look in their eyes because you'll see God. When you luck out, appreciate the moment and say, thank you, God. Because just as easily, it could have fallen on you instead of the guy next to you. And for some unknown cosmic reason, you lucked out. That moment is a when you meet God. That's not what we want. That's not what we want. We want to know, where is God? We want to see him. We want to be able to boss him around. We want to be able to tell him what to do. We're not even sure he's a guy anymore. Now, half the time when I talk about God, I try and change my pronouns. One time I use he, one time I use she. So if I shift back and forth, you'll know that I'm just trying to fool you into thinking that I'm not a male chauvinist pig. Number 2, next slide. So, in the Bible, God is not G-O-D. G-O-D is a very bad English term that we have created where we give you the impression that God is Big Daddy. God is a man. God talks. God acts. God does. None of this is true. But that's the way my ancestors talked, because they were all Jewish guys, and that's how they spoke. Listen, I speak and sometimes anthropomorphize God, but I know deep down that God is not a big daddy up in the sky. God is not a man. God is not a woman. God is not a person. God is not a super person. There is no supernatural. In fact, the reason I believe there's a God is because there was a Big Bang. I understand this now, thank you, Stephen Hawking, that since that Big Bang has been going on, there has been a plan. Thank you, the Charlie Darwin, who invented the whole idea that there is evolution. That's how God runs the universe. There was a Big Bang and the world and universe have been evolving by a plan, which is science. That's what we call the plan. You want to call it God's will? Call it God's will. But God doesn't change it. Science is reality. That's how I know there's a God. God is a code word. In Hebrew, we don't use that word. In Hebrew, we use number 2, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. That is the word we use for God. That is actually God's personal name. God has a name. God is only his job. That's what he does during the day when he's got nothing else to do and he has to go to work. At night when he comes home, the family says, "How are you, God?" And he says, "Come on, don't call me by my title. Call me by my personal name, which is Yahweh." Yahweh is how you pronounce God's name. 4 Hebrew letters, Yod He Vav He. In Hebrew, names are definitions. Yahweh is the Hebrew word that means causer of being. Causer of being. God is the cause of the Big Bang. Now, some people say to me, "Well, how do you know that God caused it?" I said, "I don't know who caused it. I wasn't there. But somebody or something caused it because we know there was a Big Bang. Stevie Hawking proved that one. Okay, so whatever it was that caused it is Yahweh." Now, I talk to him like he's Big Daddy in the sky because I'm an old man and that's how I talk. But I don't make the mistake of thinking that God's going to say to me, "Well, Eric, how are you today?" That's not going to happen. And if I want to know what God wants, I have to look at the universe and get in line with how the universe works. This is what our Torah teaches us. If we look at Exodus 34:17, which I'm not going to read to you, if you want to check it out, go look. There's a wonderful story where Moses is talking to the big G, to God, and Moses says to him, "You know, God, I want to see your face." And God laughs and says to him, "You can't see my face." And Moses says, "Oh, come on, I'm your boy, I want to see." And God says to him, "All right, Big Mo." This is, of course, all in biblical Hebrew. He said, "I'll tell you what I'm going to do. There's a cleft in the rock. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move you over there by the cleft in the rock and you can look through. All right? And then I'm going to walk in front of the rock. And when I get to the front of the rock, I'm going to put my hand over it so you can't see. Because if you see my face, you'll drop dead. And after I walk past, I'm going to take my hand away. And then you can look at my back. Very strange story, Exodus 34:17. Very strange. What, God has a hand? You can see God's hand, but you can't see his face. And if you look at his face, you drop dead. If you look at his back, what is he, that ugly? No. It is a parable. It is not to be taken literally, folks. If you take the story literally, you don't understand. Moses is the greatest human being who ever lived, so says the Bible. And Moses can't see God. God says to him, you can't see me. He says, you want to see me? Look at all the goodness in the universe. That's me, Mo. It comes from me. And Moses says, that's not enough. I want to see your face. God says, you can't. And he does the thing with the rock. And Moses, God takes his hand away, and Moses looks at God's back. And what does that mean? God has a front, God has a back? No. If you look at my back, you can't really tell very much. You can get a rough image of how big I am. You can get a rough image of my size, but not if very different than if you see my face. If you see my face, you can know me. You know who I am. You can tell if I'm laughing when I say something, or if I'm crying. You can get to understand if you see my face. If you look at my back, you get a vague image. And that is what God is telling Moses. He's telling Moses, Moses, you're the closest human beings have ever gotten to me. You're the greatest, smartest guy who ever was, but even you can't see God because you can't see God. You can see my back. You can see the creation, the universe. You can see how good it is. Find the goodness in the universe and be happy with that. That's what you can see about God. Because God is Yahweh. Now, there were a bunch of Germans running around the 1890s who didn't know enough Hebrew to understand that there was no J in Hebrew. So they spelled Yahweh the good German way, Jahveh. And so they started calling him Jehovah. That's very nice, but it's not a real word. Jehovah is a horrible German corruption of Hebrew name for God. God's name is Yahweh. We Jews consider it so holy, we don't even want to say it. Usually when we see those 4 Hebrew letters, we say Adonai, which means the boss. So we talk about the boss. We don't talk about God's personal name. But God's personal name is God's definition. God is the cause of existence. God runs the universe through science. Science is good because I'm alive. And I think that's a good thing. You want to see God? Add an O in the middle. Look at the good of the universe. That you can see. That you can know. Stop even talking about God. We get so caught up in God and who is God and how am I going to see God and how am I going to love God. The rabbis tell a story about what is God, how do you love God? And they say, well, let's talk about kings because they lived in the days of monarchies. They say, the king is a very powerful, great man. And you Shlemiel, what can you do for the king? You're going to give him money? He doesn't need your money. He's got 10 times more money. You're going to give him a present? He has everything. He doesn't need anything from you. What can you give God? Nothing. But the king, who doesn't need anything, has a son. He's a young son. He's starting out in life. Now, if you're nice to the king's son, the king will hear about it and say, hey, thank you, Eric. My son needed a little help. You helped him out. I appreciate that. You can't do much for me, but you're good to my kid. I'm happy. The rabbis say God is like a king, and who are God's children? Human beings. So if you're nice to other human beings, that's being nice to God's children, and God will appreciate it. So the best thing you can do for God is to be good to other people. Be good to the world. That's how you're good to God. What does God do? God doesn't do anything. God is the creator of existence. It's not what people want. They want the cosmic bellhop desperately. I remember there was a woman who came to me and she was very concerned. She said, Rabbi, my dog was sick and I prayed to God and God healed my dog. And I'm afraid I have some kind of power. And I said to her, I was in a very ornery mood. I said to her, you don't have any special power, but you are very selfish. And she got upset and said, what? I said, you can tell God to heal, and the only person you told God to heal was your fish-looking dog? What about all the sick people in the world? You didn't pray for them, did you? She said, no, I wasn't sure it was going to work on my dog. I said, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do right now, lady. We're going down to Princeton Hospital and we're going to go stand in the children's cancer ward, and you're going to stand at the foot of every bed and you're going to ask God to make them better. And then we're going to start going on TV and make this public. If you have the power to heal, and God heard you, and God healed, well, then I think we got to put him to work. Because frankly, if God causes bad things, I don't like him. If that's what she does, what is she up there sitting around saying, well, it's a slow day. Let's see. Oh, there's Eric's mother. You know, I guess it's time for her to die. All right, poof, you get cancer, lady. Is that how it works? Well, wait a minute. I can go pray because I'm a rabbi. God will listen to me. And I say, oh, dear God, please don't kill my mother. Let her live another 5 years. And what's God going to say? God's going to say, well, Eric, it's your mother. I didn't know that. I thought she was somebody else's mother. Your mother? Of course, I won't kill her now. Poof, she gets 5 more years. Thank you, God. 5 years comes by, and what's she doing up there? She's waiting for my mother, and she says, okay, Hope got her 5 years, Eric. It's up. All right, she gets a horrible cancer this time. Is that Hope? Is that what God does? But I might say again, hey, God, come on. It's my mommy. I'm your boy. All right, Eric, she'll get another 5 years. How long do you think I can keep this up? Till she's 200? Nobody's ever lived that long. The whole premise is ridiculous. To think that that's what God does. God singles out people for horrible things. If God does that, let me tell you, in my worst moments, I have never wished the horrible pain and injury I have seen happen in the world. God causes that willfully, then God is a bastard, and I'm against God. But that's not God, folks. The fact is, all human beings are fragile. That's how we were created. We will break down. Sometimes I might luck out and not stand in the middle of the road and get hit by the truck. Sometimes I may not look and I may get hit by the truck. God didn't say, okay, it's time to kill Eric now with a truck set. It's not God. And I also can't pray to God, don't kill me now, God. God is not the cosmic bellhop. God set up the universe. The universe runs on science. God gave me a mind to be able to figure out the universe and to be able to manipulate it and to be able to make it better. But in the end, I'm going to die. That's how God wants it, because my children will inherit the world. And the only way they'll inherit the world and be free of me is when I'm dead and they remember me and say, God, he was really a great guy, wasn't he? Remind them to say that, please. I'll feel better. So, what is God doing now? God, one of my friends said, what does God do when bad things happen? God is in heaven crying. Look what they let happen to him. Look what they let happen to the world. I created a beautiful universe, and this is what they do with it. We Jews fervently believe that God created the universe and that it's good. And that our duty is to take what God has given us through our families and our world and our country, to make it as good as we can, and then to pass it on to the next generation. This is how Jews believe in God, and this is how Jews live their lives, hopefully. Number 3. My friend, Ralph Waldo, wrote this a long time ago. Ralph was a smart boy. He wasn't Jewish. He wrote it in English. Jen, can you read it?
The gods we worship write their names on our faces. Be sure of that. And we will worship something, have no doubt of that either. We may think that our tribute is paid in the secret, dark recesses of the heart, but it will out. But it will out. That which dominates our imagination and our thoughts will determine our life and character. Therefore, it behooves us to be careful what we are worshiping, for what we are worshiping, we are becoming.
Ralph Waldo Emerson, smart boy. God is that which you worship. Don't get caught up in the idea of trying to say, where is God? All that you can be involved in is moments, appointments with God, when you are acting godlike or when someone is acting godlike for you. So, go out and make a better world. Amen. All right, I've pontificated. We got 8 minutes left. Anybody have any questions about God? Because I know all the answers.
Want to be unmute them, or can they unmute themselves?
Any questions about anything in the whole wide world? So when people tell me, Rabbi, I don't believe in God, I tell them, I don't care. Do you believe in good? Go do good. People get so caught up in this idea of believe. I hate the word. I hate the word believe. I don't want to believe, I want to know. And if you don't know about God, which you can't, there's no way to know. We can't describe God. You can't see God's face. At best, Moses saw God's back, which doesn't tell you much when you see the back. Yes, Madame, Miss Nisa.
Sorry, I had to log on a little late. I was in another meeting, but nice to see you and hear always what you have to say. So I totally am total buy-in that the good we see is God. But what happens when all this bad, we have people who die young, people who get cancer, people who are angry over everything. How do we reconcile that? How do we say, I get it when we're good, that's godly. I don't believe in the devil, so I don't feel like that's counteracting it. And since you said you know everything, I'm hoping.
Thank you, and I'm glad you asked because I do know everything. And I even now understand why the Austro-Hungarian Empire collapsed at the end of World War I. So when you want to know that, I now understand that. Took me a long time to learn it, but I did. So what happens? There is no devil, there is no evil. It is bad things happen to people. Look, the fact is I'm going to die, right? From the moment I was born, you knew I was going to die. So the next time somebody has a baby, let's all go over to their house and say, oh, it's terrible. This kid, you know, he's born now and he can't talk and he can't do anything. And all he can do is sit there and cry. And then he couldn't cry and his mother is not going to pay attention to him and cater to his every whim. And his older brother is not going to give his toys. And his older sister is going to pick on him. Then he's going to go to school. And he's going to get all these childhood diseases. And he won't have all the right friends. And they'll make him do things and he'll skin his knees, and then he'll become a teenager and he'll discover girls and they'll be rotten to him and they'll torture him because that's what you women do. And then he'll get a job and his boss won't be nice to him. He'll have to work hard, and he'll get sick and he'll get married and his wife will pay more attention to his children and she won't cater to his every whim. And then he'll get sick and he'll die. So why are we happy this child is born? If you look at the way if you look at the world the way I just described it, you'd say that's sick. This baby is born, that's wonderful. I could also give a litany of wonderful things that happen. The question is, how much can I control? How much can the kid control? You know, if I don't stand in the middle of the street, the odds are I won't get hit by a truck. So don't stand in the middle of the street. Trucks aren't evil. I like the fact that they bring shipping goods left and right all across the country, but don't stand in one's way. And if you do, whose fault is it? Look, we know there's cancer. I have spoken to brilliant doctors who now they understand cancer. They have told me it's just a matter of time till we learn to fix cancer cells. It's a matter of money and time. Look what we did with COVID. We put billions of dollars into it, and in 6 months, isn't that amazing? We come up with a vaccine. Oh my God. Hey, maybe we should stop buying nuclear weapons and put all that money in cancer research. You know, there's no food shortage in the world. There's a food distribution shortage in the world, right? Maybe we should put more money into distributing food. Maybe we should put more money into sharing medicine. Maybe we should put more money into making society better. We don't do that, Lise. So whose fault is that? Look, the fact is I'm going to die. My body is going to break down. Now, with any luck, it'll be 100 years. But who am I kidding? Unless I lose a lot of weight and, you know, take better care of myself. No, I'm going to get sick. Whose fault is that? And the fact is that I'm going to die in 100 years. I told you it's a good thing. Do you think I would ever let your generation run the universe? You're a child. I know better than you. I can't let you run everything. Yeah, well, you know why? That's why I'm getting old and start to fall apart. Because sooner or later, it's going to dawn on me, you know, I better be nice to her and all her cousins, because they're the ones who are going to pick my old age home. They're the ones who are going to have to feed me when I'm an old geezer. So I guess I better train them and give them control. And the only way I will ever understand that is if I have to get old and die. That's why people get old and die. I'm not in favor of it, mind you, but then I didn't create the system. I just found it. But I'm beginning to understand. But see, I'm beginning to understand the beauty in it, because look at that, I get to see your children. Wow, that's cool. But every time I look at them, I say, another year older to closer to the grave, Wisnia. Yeah, that's what it means. But so what do I want? Just me forever? Oh, I like that you were born, and I like that your children were born. And if I stop being so self-centered, I will say, I want your children to enjoy it. Look, there's still fires, there's still diseases, there's still bad things. But whose fault is that? In order for me to grow, in order for a child to be born, they have to be fragile. Growing means they have to be fragile. Bad things can happen when you're fragile. Now, if I'm smart, I'm going to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to make sure that all the apartments in New York City are built with doors that seal and have fire detectors and not too crowded. So we won't. People. Mine, because I didn't make New York better. Because I'm too worried about me, and I didn't start calling up the mayor of New York and say, you want to have a better fire prevention system. Okay, but I want the cosmic bellhop, Lisa. I want God to do it now. I don't have to do anything. I want God to do it. So bad things do happen, but it's not God's will. I used to hate it when people said it's God's will. No, it isn't God's will. God did not make my mother sick. She got old and she passed away. That's the way it works. Any other questions? Not that I hope any of you get old and sick.
Not necessarily a question, but I always appreciated and loved the Jewish religion. And just looking at the 10, I guess, rules that you just put up there, I feel like they could apply to humanity in general. So I appreciate that and feel like God or a spirit is kind of overlapping all of that. But when it comes down to it, we are all one. We are all responsible for ourselves and each other, and helping the world be a better place. And I think that's beautiful.
Right, is that Ann? I can't see.
Yeah, that's Ann.
I think you're right, Ann. I think that, remember, being a good Jew means being a good person. Judaism and Jews are our family. And just like I have a family in my house, and my children, I love them better than your children. I'm sorry, I do. But, that's the way it's supposed to be. That doesn't mean I don't like your children. It doesn't mean that I don't like, I won't be nice to your children, or that I won't share with them or help them. But I love my children because they're mine. But then the family next to me, I like them. They're my neighbors. That's how we look at it, the universe. Yes, Jews are our family, and then everybody else is our neighbors. But we all live in the universe, and we're all part of the same family, the family of humanity. That's the basic meaning of the story. And next week, we're going to be talking about Torah, the Bible. And what I'm going to tell you is that Jews take the Bible seriously because it tells us how to live. It's our storybook. And the very first story, actually, no, the second story, is we're all one family from Adam and Eve. Do I have to shut up? Are we done? No, we keep going. Okay.
None of us are getting paid.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? But yes, I agree with you. To be a Jew is to be a good person. To be a Jew is to be, and it's, see, the difference comes in the fact of we do the Sabbath on Saturday. That's our tradition. My family's been doing that for a good 4,000 years, as far as I can tell. Do you have to do Sabbath on Saturday? No, do whatever you want. My family, we do it on Saturday. That doesn't mean I'm right. That doesn't mean I'm better. It just means that's what I do. I have my New Year's Day in September. That's how I count the days. What do you want? That's not a criticism of you. And it doesn't mean if you don't do it my way, there's something wrong with you. It's just that as a Jew, that's what we do. My family does it this way. So we look at religion. Well, remember I told you that in Hebrew, in the Bible, there's no word for religion. You can't say that idea. Modern Hebrew had to invent a word because they didn't have the word in the Bible. You could be a Jew or you could be an Egyptian, but you couldn't be a Jew who believed like Egyptians, because then you'd have to live like the Egyptians and be an Egyptian. Any other questions about anything? Any comments? Anyone want rebuttal?
I'm like Anne when you were talking about all the what makes a Jew. I kept thinking, my God, I could be a Jew. And so it's very commonsensical in some ways, but I guess not for everyone.
Is that Nancy? Okay.
Yes.
Nancy, the reason that many Christians find Judaism
Threatening?
So easy to take, so friendly, yes, is because don't forget, Jesus was a Jew.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget that Jesus and all his apostles, his 12 apostles were his rabbinic students, and that what he was preaching was Jewish morality. So that if you grew up as a Christian with any degree of morality, it's the same. Yes, totally the same. It's, you know, what the Christians did was they said, well, we're not going to do it on Saturday anymore. We're going to do it on Sunday. And they started to change the ritual. And then in the Catholic Church, they started to change some of the beliefs about Jesus. And when you get some of these church fathers, like Quintin Tertullianus, should look up this guy, a real wacko. Credo quia absurdum. I believe it because it's absurd. Good, Quintin. That's nice. I don't believe it because it's absurd. You know, and that's why he could say quite easily, Jesus was divine and Jesus was human. Jesus never said that. Any rabbi who said that, his wife and his children would have said, honey, you're not divine. Don't kid yourself.
The other thing you said was science is God's will.
Yes.
I love that. I never put the two together. And so I thought that was fascinating. Even though, you know, he's supposed to have created everything, which again is science. I just never put it together. I thought that was interesting.
You know, I read a couple of years ago, I was on a science kick. And so I read Darwin's Origin of Species. And then I was reading about evolution. And what I realized is poor Charlie Darwin, you know, I mean, the guy lived in the 1850s. And the problem was that all the leaders of his church were fools. You know, when Charlie shows us exactly how God created the world. He shows how God's plan of evolution works. And he says, at some point, in one of his chapters, he's going, look, every English farmer knows how to breed chickens. You want to have good eggs? You take two healthy, good breed chickens, put them together, they'll make good eggs. And then the next generation, you take the best two chickens, the male, the female, put them together, and you get better eggs every generation. He says every English farmer, no matter what an idiot he is, if he's living on his farm, he knows how to do this, to breed his animals, to breed his crops. And when Charlie said this, my thought was, oh my God, he's brilliant. He shows how evolution works. And that's God's plan. But all the leaders of his church said, oh, that can't be, because science can't be religion. Science has to oppose religion. And I looked at that and I said, I find Charlie Darwin's book to be the most religious book I ever read. It proves the existence of God. There is a plan. It's not supernatural hocus pocus. It's not miracles happening left and right. No, there can't be any miracles because God runs the universe through science. If there were supernatural miracles, then I might question the existence of a God. But there aren't. Everything works on God's will. We call it science. And you know what's even nicer? God gave us brains. We can horn in on the system. We can figure it out and start even to manipulate it and work with God, hopefully to make it better and not to make it worse. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for submitting yourselves to me for an hour. I do appreciate it. Because my wife and children do not sit and listen sometimes.